D&D from A to Z, spells for you and spells for me. We will see what we will see today. Locals galore and monsters roar, nerds adore forevermore. Let's explore some ancient lore. Hey, hey. Hello, welcome. My name is Jordan Maywood and I am the Alphabetical DM. This show is one in which I discuss, nay, rate every monster, spell, location, and also discuss a main subject of some sort. Why do I do this? I don't rightly know. Because I love D&D and wish to discuss about it. It's about it on the internet. One thing I should mention is that a unique way in which I record this means that there's no editing. Yes, so things like that will happen. Smart of me? No. Dumb of me? Also no, because it means that you get to see the process, which is sometimes interesting to some people, and you might be one of those people. It's not one of these highly polished Matt Koval edited with the jump cuts and the no screwing up words parts of things. No, raw, real, and dangerous. And also, I should mention on that note and similar notes that just about everything I say will be an opinion. Yes, one of the great things of D&D is you can have one set of rules and every single table will interpret them differently and have different experiences. You could have people using the same source books and the same adventures and completely different things happening at the table. So that is why I like it, and that is why whatever I say here, dumb or smart, is an opinion. So please take that with grains of salt that are enormous ones. Just big salt. Let's move into the Let's move into the the main subject, rather. The Abyss, you're talking? Yes, alphabetically, we're going to go through every single plane, I mean. I probably said pain because in the plane of the Abyss, probably a lot of pain with all the demons and such. Yeah, I meant to say it, is what happened. A professional, which I am not, would have potentially restarted this episode the amount of things I've screwed up. But, hey, you get what you pay for, right? And you don't pay for this, you sons of guns. Okay, so decided to go through every plane because it made sense from a alphabetical standpoint, because that's what we do here. And also it works because I'm currently running a campaign called the Sliders campaign, in which the players are traveling through all the different planes of Dungeons and Dragons. All the planes. Oh, can I click on this? Yeah, let's get a look at the Great Wheel of Cosmology. So they're going to all of these planes, and fire, earth, water. I think there might be. I don't know if there's any I missed out. I'm pretty sure they're gonna go to everyone, and maybe a few strange ones as well. Ooh, spoilers if they watch this. But first we're gonna start with the Abyss. Look, alphabetically. So. Let's see what the wiki has to say. Infinite layers of the Abyss, birthplace of demons, a chaotic evil universe. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. The natives are demons. Color pools, I don't know what that means. Amethyst or swirling dark purple. Tuning fork, iron. Okay, I was gonna push that and see what it did. Lost it. What are we doing? Innumerable, immeasurable layers is the size and shape. Gravity, normal, varies between layers. Oh yeah, there's some layers to it. Time is normal. Morphic traits, divinely. Some of this stuff I don't necessarily know what it means. We've got layers. We've got this creepy map of them. Okay, so rating-wise, which we should rate these just as we do the monsters, spells, and locations. Um, the Abyss is a freaky, freaky one that I think if you were to throw your characters in, the name alone, even if they don't know the details of it, is going to put them on edge, which is something is fun to do to your characters from time to time. And plus the fact that it's huge. Look at all these different. It's not like it's just one area. Like you've got ash, you've got cities, you got deserts, delusions, a trackless ocean with a surface. A trackless ocean with a surface. Okay, well that's sort of weird. A surfaceless ocean, I suppose. Would the plane of water be a surfaceless ocean? I don't know. See an acid, blood, garbage, insects, oil, or worms? Well, I don't want to go here at all. The sheer variety, the sheer madness, and evil, and like, what would they even do here? I suppose, in terms of putting your players here, one thing they want to do is just leave. That could be the session. That could be the campaign. How do they get out of this hellscape? Um, so rating wise, I'll go a 4.9. Yeah, it doesn't quite hit the 5. I don't know if there is a plane that's going to hit a 5, but this one has so much potential that, there's a lot you could do here. Needless to say, a lot of creepy, a lot of spooky, a lot of altogether kooky. The Abyss family. Let's move on to Monster. The Adult Oblex. Interesting. Challenge rating 5. It is dexterous, which you don't picture one being necessarily. This is not what it looks like. This is sort of a default image for the ooze, because this falls into the category of ooze, I do believe. So can move through tight spaces as narrow as 1 inch, which is always creepy. Reminds me a little bit of Pennywise the Clown, sort of like coming through the little pipes and stuff. It could do that. Version to fire, so it doesn't like fire. If you hit it with fire, it's going to have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the end of its next turn, which is an interesting thing you don't see too often. I think. What is the flesh golem? I think if it's hit with fire, does it have the same thing, or it sort of goes crazy? Spell casting, which is interesting for an ooze. Don't really see that very often. Charm person at 5th level, color spray, detect thoughts, hold person. Yeah, so you'll see probably that makes sense with this ability, which is very, very cool. Sulfurous Impersonation. As a bonus action, the Oblex, I say Oblex because I think I've heard it pronounced it that way, but that also looks like it says Oblex. Can extrude a piece of itself that assumes the appearance of one medium or smaller creature whose memories it has stolen. Oh god. The simulacrum appears, feels, and sounds exactly like the creature it impersonates, though it smells faintly of sulfur. So, if you're hanging out with your adventuring party and one of them smells like sulfur, be careful. Let's just say. The Oblex can impersonate 1d4 plus 1 different creatures, each one tethered to its body by a strand of slime that can extend up to 120 feet away. For all practical purposes, the simulacrum is the Oblex, meaning that the Oblex occupies its space and the simulacrum space simultaneously. The slimy tether is immune to damage, but it is severed if there's no opening at least 1 inch between the Oblex main body and the simulacrum disappears as severed. So that, I saw some examples in the pictures. So this girl right here is not a real girl. She is attached to this thing by little strands that can be as thin as 1 inch, as long as 120 feet. And she sort of, yeah, that's a cool example right there. So you could have a party member, probably an NPC, unless you maybe have a player who's not there for the day for some reason, replaced by this thing, which is frightening. Anytime you can have a shape changer or something like this, or people not knowing if they can trust people who they normally trust, is a sort of, if you break down a scenario, replaced with others, that sort of idea, immediately freaky. It eats memories. People, would you use the phrase "it eats memories"? That's pretty crazy right there. So, and it's a news, of course. Okay, so rating wise, yeah, gotta go 5 out of 5 for this. I think easy for just its cool abilities, and the way that it looks is horrifying in some of these pictures. Like this thing. What the hell is that? And like eyes all over? Ugh. Look. Is that like the alien mouth there? Let's get a really good look at this one. Uh-huh. Okay, so yeah. Beat that thing with eyes. And then one of these tentacles can like go around a corner. It's going over here, goes off screen for a bit, and then it comes back in, but on the end of the tentacle is someone you know and love whose memories it has eaten, saying, "Quick, come with me." And then this thing leads you back in, around this, and back into it, and you're fighting it again. What the heck? That is horrifying. Moving on to spell. You create an Arcane Eye. Yep, still in the A's. Still in the A's. You create invisible magical eye within range that hovers in the air for the duration. You mentally receive visual information from the eye, which has normal vision and dark vision up to 30 feet. The eye can look in every direction. It's like a 3D uh, virtual reality camera eye, basically. As an action, you can move the eye up to 30 feet in any direction. There is no limit to how far away from you the eye can move, but it can't enter another plane of existence. Okay, so there's math that I am not going to do. 30 feet for 1 hour, so 30 feet is 6 seconds. Yeah, that's math I can't do. An action is 6 seconds. I'll tell you what, if someone can do the math and throw it down below, I'll give you a mention in the next video. Huh? How about that? I'll give you a thank you for doing math. Because of things that I am bad at as a DM, of which there are many, math is probably number one. So 6 seconds, 30 feet. How many 6 seconds in an hour? There's math there that you could do to see how far you can get. But what I was also just thinking is, you could, is this concentration? Yeah, it is concentration. You could potentially have a portal, as long as it's not to another plane of existence, open and send this eye through to anywhere in the same plane, and do it that way in terms of movement. So, it's sort of a tag team spell effort there. Rating wise, it's 4th level. I feel like it should be 3rd. That's just my strange spur of the moment opinion. Yeah, I guess when information is important, this can be vital, but rating wise, I'll go at 2.9. Yeah, didn't quite make that 3 level for Arcane Eye. And here's a bunch of Arcane Eyes, I guess. Here we go. Doctor Strange and his eye. That is probably arcane in some.
At your destination.
Location. We moved on from spell to location. The Adder River. The Adder River ran south and north from the Adder Peaks to empty into the Bay of Chesanata through the Adder Swamp. Adder River being wide, slow-flowing, muddy, lush vegetation. Inhabitants, Were-Crocodiles. People, did you say Were-Crocodiles? Okay, so all of this from here to here, boring. I hate it. 1 out of 5. Were-Crocodiles. Yeah, we're gonna. What's a Were-Crocodile worth? Probably 2 marks minimum. So we'll go with solid 3 for the Adder River. Although you could just do any river with Were-Crocodiles. Back down, 2.9. Yeah, getting the same as whatever the spell was. Arcane Eye and Adder River, both 2.9. Not blowing me away, but we had the Adult Oblex to bump it up to make some interesting... This thing immediately caught my eye. Why is there... Okay, so it's somewhere here. I think it mentioned this. Lycanthrope City. Why is there a Lycanthrope City? Adder Swamp. Okay, so it's this river that goes through here. And then let's just look at whatever the heck this thing is. Pretty creepy. What is going on? Is it like coming out of a... Anyways, let's move on to scenario. Okay, if you are unfamiliar with the scenario segment, I combine the monster, spell, and location into one, you guessed it, scenario, which you can use in your campaign. You can use in your backstory. You can use just for inspiration for strange or interesting ideas, what they usually end up being. In the deepest, darkest, siltiest depths of the Adder River... Oh, I heard something. In the deepest, darkest depths of the Adder River, an adult Oblex has taken up residence. The Were-Crocodiles that previously inhabited this section of the river came to worship the Oblex when it began using the spell Arcane Eye to scout out likely candidates for meals. Ooh, symbiosis. The Oblex even developed a nictitating membrane on the eye to further cement their symbiotic relationship. The Were-Crocodiles considered it a great honor when they reached old age and their essence is infused into... It's all the spelling errors. Come on. Into the Oblex through its sulfurous impersonation. Ah, yes. Those who have passed can still be communicated with. They believed it a sort of immortality. So sort of a relationship between this pile of whatever the hell that weird looking stuff was and these Were-Crocodiles, which is nice because this thing sort of stays in one spot and likes to bring food to it. So if it can use these Were-Crocodiles and their ability to travel further than it can, to bring it food, and then they sort of work together. I thought this was sort of a cool idea. Also for the fact that it gave me the thought of other unlikely partnerships like this. Like there's the sort of classic dragons and kobolds. I think that's one you see fairly often. But why can't other things have similar relationships, like an Oblex and Were-Crocodiles? I love D&D. Move on to questions and answers. Viewer still in quotes because from my perspective I have not yet had any questions posted in the Underdark below. If you do have any, please post them there and I'll pull them and we'll answer them on the show. Is the idea, however, until if that does not happen. I've been pulling from Facebook D&D groups where people just post questions, and then I'll go in there and answering them is a fun thing to do to kill some time. So this was an interesting one, and people were angry about this, and it is phrased a little judicially. Yeah, I've been noticing a severe lack of variety when it comes to the big bad evil guy, BBEG, I see posted about here. Why is the big evil always either a lich or some undead or dragon? Aren't there other options? So, this guy's sort of complaining, I guess. I don't know, it sort of had the feel of a complaint, which when people who go online and complain of things always sort of rub me the wrong way, a little bit. Not something I do. Anyways, and if you have fun doing it, more power to you. Anyways, so I came up with, this gave me an idea. So as much as I felt this was sort of phrased in a complaining manner, it did give me this idea of how do you turn a CR0 monster into your big bad evil guy. And I did 4 examples here, which we'll go through. So CR0 is like the lowest of the challenge ratings. So like a dragon is, 17, 20, somewhere in that, off the top of my head. Somewhere in that area. So like a wolf is like 1 or 1/8 or something like that. So 0, low as you can go. My favorite one, which I didn't throw in here, at least I think it is 0, awakened shrub. So like a shrub that has sentience is like a 0. A frog, and this is not like a big frog, this is just literally a frog. Okay, so let's start with that. People are licking it and it is giving them visions, which is a thing. Some frogs have that. If was it The Simpsons? Pretty sure The Simpsons have taught me anything. It's that some frogs you can lick and they give you visions. They make you crazy. Visions to do evil and build up a power base for the frog that they treat like a god. Are the visions coming from the people's minds and are simply unlocked through this psychedelic experience? Or is the frog purposely controlling other beings with some sort of psionic powers? So, basically, a cult. You can have a cult as your big bad evil guy, and the cult leader ends up being this frog that people are just licking. So, yeah. Homunculus. It's sort of a magical construct creation. Usually small, usually I picture sort of almost like a roundish little glob of goo kind of thing, but they can be made of other things. A lot of leeway in what a homunculus can be made out of and look like, basically. As far as everyone knows, the homunculus is just a magical mouthpiece for a uber powerful drow matron mother. So when I was reading the monster stats for homunculus, it mentioned that sometimes it'll just magic people who created them will use them to speak through. So, like, say you take over a city, but you can't spend all your time in this city because you're out and about doing your evil deeds. You leave one of these in the city, and then you can, periodically see through the homunculus's eyes and talk through it, and that'll be your sort of way to keep control of the city without actually being there. Just as an example. So, this drow matron mother created one, but what only the homunculus knows is the drow in question was killed long ago, and ever since it has been using her power base for its own means, as the magic that destroyed the matron mother traveled through the link and gave it sentience. So whatever killed this drow was so powerful that it sort of traveled through this link and the magic, almost like how a sorcerers can be born of many different ways, and maybe this is one of them. So basically, this homunculus is almost like a sorcerer at this point because it's infused with this magic that traveled through this link, and people think it's the drow still, but it's actually this homunculus in control. Crawling Claw, this one I had the most trouble with, I think, which you would think maybe would be the Quipper, but no, this one did. And all of this, I should say. Remember when I mentioned opinions at the beginning? Some of this, I'm taking some liberties, let's say. Immune to a cleric's turn undead, which is actually an ability that this Crawling Claw has. A group of knowledge domain clerics wanted to know why, so they captured one in order to perform tests on it, and inadvertently, over time, without even knowing it, gave it more and more immunities until it was virtually indestructible. So this sort of scientific tests that the knowledge domain clerics made it stronger and stronger over time. The repeated spellcasting from such strong intelligence mind infused the claw and gave it purpose. So the first opportunity it had, it escaped, and ever since it has harnessed the power within it to control the hands of anyone within 5 feet, then 10, 20, 40, 80, 160, etc. Eventually, it will bring all hands under its control unless it can be found and destroyed. So my thought here is similar, and again, I'm sort of using something like the homunculus in that it's almost like a sorcerer in that it's been fused with all this magic and knowledge from these knowledge domain clerics. And it's that combined with the fact that it's a hand, it can now control hands. You can make stuff like that up like this. Now, a crawling claw that can control hands is not a CR0 any longer, but just for flavoring purposes is what I'm doing here. So imagine suddenly your party has to defeat this thing that is immune to most damages, and also they can't use their hands to do so. They've got to think of something pretty creative. So say it's immune to magic. Say it's immune to bludgeoning piercing, slashing from non-magic. It's basically immune to, maybe give it not immune to psychic. I don't even know. No, it's immune to everything. What do they do to stop it? Probably something involving capturing it. They kick it into a box and then throw the box in or just leave it in the box, but then maybe it can get out. I don't know. A lot of weird possibilities with the crawling claw, big bad evil guy. Quipper. Okay, this one I kind of like. A water elemental had a penchant for sucking up quippers. And quipper, if you don't know, is just like a fish. It's sort of like a fish, almost like a piranha, kind of. Yeah, sort of like a piranha. So it was sucking up these piranha quippers into its body since it felt good. Weirdo. And over time, it would add more and more until its body was mostly quippers. So picture a being made out of all water, but for some reason it thought it felt good to suck fish up into it, and then there was like fish floating around in it. When a spell banished the elemental back to the plane of water, these quippers somehow use their combined mental network to hold the body together despite the elemental no longer being present. So here my thought is, all these quippers in this sort of, I don't know if you would consider a water elemental a magical being, probably, or yeah, you kind of would. So they're sort of living in this magical being. So they're, again, sort of infused with magic. And then the fact that they're all living together in this thing, a sort of neural network develops, is my thought process here. With time and practice, they've learned to disperse and reform, and they now want all sea life to experience the sense of thought and freedom. So a classic, is this like an Aquaman thing? I don't know what it is. Where they want life from the sea to become more, to take over the land, or to flood the entire globe so everything is underwater, and then give water-based life more of a life than they have just living in the sea. Give them sentience, give them the ability to walk on land like they are able to, that sort of thing. So that's just 4. I'll tell you what, if you can look at the CR zeros and do another one in the Underdark below, good on ya, let's say. Good on ya. Moving on to the end.
It's done!
It sure is, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Done, done, done. We did it. Episode 14, The Abyss. The Plains Number 1 is the title of it, if you didn't read it, you weirdo. Nothing wrong with being weird, though. I should say that this podcast, me, does not like doing the typical beg, borrow, and steal for likes, subscribes, and hitting notification bells as you do. So instead I bribe for them by saying every 100, 200, 400, 800, when we reach that level where channels start making money, whenever that is, I will be donating proceeds to this wonderful organization, TakeThis.org, which is sort of intertwined with gaming, and also helps those with mental health issues. So, obviously those two things combined, greatly appreciated by me and sort of intertwined with my life, just period, full stop. So anything that can help them, including a few clicks of buttons, would be greatly appreciated. I hope you like these episodes. Yeah, they're going okay. There is always in the back of my mind that sort of thought of, with the podcast, it's so much easier and less work, which is why I've got to 500 episodes, whereas this is a little more detailed, to the degree where when I reach, I'll tell you what I'll say. This is episode 14. I think when I get to episode 100, set myself a pretty lofty goal there, I'll evaluate whether I want to continue on doing it. We'll sort of play it by ear at that point, is my sort of thought process, he says. Folks, you know what else I like to say at the end of every episode? It's nice to be nice to the nice.